Director Fuller.
Here.
Director Mendieta Ramos.
Here.
Director Omakunde. Laura Omakunde.
He is online. Is he? Director Maura Makundi, can you hear us?
Yeah, I did too.
No, see him.
I don't see him there.
Hold on 1 second. I'll let them check out that. Can we continue? We'll come back to those names.
Director Owen Moore.
She's excused.
Director Pence.
Here. All right, we have a quorum, but we're going to take a moment to see if we can connect with Directors Moore, Omakundi, and Ajib online.
I think he's just unmuted himself. I think you just.
Dr. Najib, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Dr. Najib, here.
Yes, here.
And is Director Moore Omakundi on? Is there anything else we're attempting to do to bring Director Moore Omakundi online? Okay, we'll proceed from here, and please let us know if he joins or when he joins. Are we in compliance with the open meeting law?
Yes, sir.
We have no one registered to provide comments from the public today. So we will go directly to item 3, approval of the minutes. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting of March 25, 2025.
So moved.
Director Case has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, I didn't see. Was that Director Mendieta? We have a motion from Director Case, a second from Director Mendieta Ramos to approve the regular board meeting minutes as submitted. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion from the board members online?
No.
Director Maura Makundi, would you please acknowledge that you are present?
I am here. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's please note that on the attendance. All right, we have a motion from Director Case, a second from Director Mendieta Ramos to approve the regular board meeting minutes from March 25, 2025. Would all those in favor indicate that by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Next is item 4, approval of consent agenda items. I have a motion for approval of all the consent agenda items. And a second?
So moved.
Director Case, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Pence. Are there any items that require us to have specific review or to pull them from the agenda item for discussion purposes? Director Baker.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull B, financial report. I just have a question or two.
Okay, any others in the room? Any others from the members of the board online?
No.
All right. Why don't we go directly to your questions?
Sure, thank you. Should be kind of easy, but in the attachment 4B, I am just curious. It has us right now, our non-salary, it has us on expenses in our salaries, and then in our non-salary, non-fringe expenses, we're at like 80 or 81%. Is that on target? Is that where we should be? I was just trying to get a sense of at this point in the year.
That is where we're on target, and we're pacing very close to where we were pacing last year in recent years.
Thank you. That's my question.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns about that item? All right, we have a motion from Director Case and a second from Director Pence to approve the agenda items. There being no further discussion, would all those in favor please indicate that by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda items are approved. Next are board action items. Number 5 is resolution F0357-04-25, authorizing the sale of $1.5 million of general obligation promissory notes, series 2024-2025K of Milwaukee Area Technical College District, Wisconsin. Mr. Fisher from Baird, please come to the table and tell us about
Mr.
that.
Chair, point of
But
order.
before we do that, yes, we need a motion. Yes. Is there a motion to approve resolution F0357-04-25?
Aye.
Director Pence, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Director Baker.
Thank you,
Fisher.
Mr. Foley. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you. So since last month, a lot has happened. I mean, beginning of April, that was when the tariff stuff really started to hit the financial markets, and we've seen a lot of volatility, not only in the stock market, but as we'll talk about today a little bit, in interest rates as well. So this morning we went out for the sale and received 4 bids, which was nice to see in this type of market. If you recall, last month we received 7. That was when things looked a little bit more stable and certain. Now we're in a little bit different climate here over the last several weeks. So the low bid was by Fidelity at a 3.54%. Last month, when we presented, it was a 3.04%. So 50 basis point increase over the last month, which in our world, that's a pretty substantial change that quick. But as we've seen, even the market today, 1,000 points up in the Dow, pretty quickly up and down based on different new tweets and information that comes out to the marketplace. So, but I think the thing that I want to point out with this sale versus other sales is when we look at those different bids that came in, just the difference in the rates that we received. I think that shows the uncertainty of where interest rates are going based on that. Usually we see a little bit tighter. So if we go to page 3, the issue summary, general obligation promissory notes, series 2024-25K, the amount of $1,500,000. This issuance will close May 13th of 2025, maturities June 1, 26 to 29. First interest December 1, 25, non-callable. Moody's did affirm the AA1 bond credit rating and the low interest rate of 3.54 by Fidelity. The next page, this is the long-term financing illustration that I work on with Eva and her team pretty consistently. Nothing really has changed. You know, we use conservative interest rates in our planning, and the rates have come in below our projections, which is always good. You know, to still be receiving 3.54% in this type of market, we aren't seeing that with other issues that are entering the market. And again, it has a lot to do with your high quality credit of that AA1. So kudos to the college. The last few pages, that's the rating report. I looked at the last one to this one. All they did was change the amount of debt essentially in the report.
Thank you. Any questions? Director Baker.
I knew somebody's gonna ask this question. I know it's impossible to answer, but are we predicting what's going to happen to us next month with this? I mean, do we need to change anything?
No, I mean, I think, what we saw a couple of weeks ago was very similar to almost what we saw in 2020 with COVID, where it was a period of time where liquidity was almost the issue in the municipal bond world, where we saw interest rates really shoot up significantly. We're talking, 50 basis point moves in a day, which was dramatic. It has since come down since then, and now it's just looking for more stability and kind of honestly a lot with what's going to happen with these trade deals. Is there going to be some clarity? Is there going to be one that occurs You know, is there gonna be one that has kind of the ball rolling? That's unknown at this point. So from where we were a couple weeks ago to where we are today, you know, it's just fortunately settled down, but it could change pretty quickly on a dime looking forward, unfortunately.
Thanks.
Any other questions in the room? Any questions for Mr. Fisher from the board members online? Director Najib?
No, that's it. No question.
Okay.
I just thought of something. Are we allowed to change the day that we go out for sales or no?
You can do what's called parameters resolutions, which we've done in the past. That basically, you know, we've done that in the past where it's been around Christmas, you know, those type of holidays. Where basically we would look at the market and jump in depending on what would make more sense. You know, we don't want to get too close to that holiday because, well, people start leaving for vacation, taking time off, etc. That would give flexibility to move when we would jump into the market, but you know, we have been setting it based on the board meeting dates.
Okay. But if there, let's just say that something major happens on Monday with tariffs and the market crashes or is really bad like it was a couple of weeks ago and we go to sell on Tuesday like we do today, are we able to, or not necessarily?
Yeah, we could always cancel the sale. It's not ideal because then it kind of, you know, if we go out for it, we want
And
to
they
show
expect
them.
it.
Yes,
Yeah.
so they show up next time, so they
Okay.
blink on it. But you do have that ability to cancel. We could then have at that meeting a parameters resolution saying maybe the next day or the following day, we jump into the market again. But fortunately, we kind of
We stick to
had
the.
2 weeks ago.
Sure.
I probably would have been on the phone with Eva saying, I don't know if today is the day.
Sure. So
But
you would reach out.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yep, I'm watching these things all the time. Unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you.
We were not in the storm.
So maybe one question.
Go ahead, Director.
Uh, if the interest rate, let's say, drops significantly down, do we have a chance to refinance?
No, not on these because of the short-term nature of these being, you know, only a handful of years. It doesn't make sense to put a call feature in it because you'd be paying a premium up front at a higher interest rate to get that. And with the rates you've been receiving at 3, you know, to 3.5%, the chances of it making economic sense in the future to refinance just wouldn't make it worthwhile.
All right, before we take the roll, I want to add one comment here, and that is a thank you to Mr. Fisher and to Baird for sponsoring the Wisconsin Technical College System Ambassadors Dinner and for your support of the tech colleges.
Our pleasure. Yep.
All right, we have a motion to approve resolution F035704-25 from Director Pence with a second from Director Baker. Would you please call the roll?
Director Burris,
Yes.
Director Case,
Aye.
Director Maniatarino,
Aye.
Director Moore McClinday,
Aye.
Director Najib,
Aye.
Director Owen Moore,
Excused.
Director Pence,
Aye.
Director Baker,
Aye.
Director Foley.
Aye. Resolution passes. Next on the agenda is item 5B, resolution F0358-04-25, authorizing the issuance of $1.5 million of general obligation promissory notes, series 2024 to 2025L of Milwaukee Area Technical College District, Wisconsin. Is there a motion to approve? Director Burris, is there a second?
Second.
Director Case. Any questions or discussions? This is the authorization to sell another $1.5 million worth of bonds next month. And are there any questions, concerns, comments? How about the directors online? Any questions about this? All right, we have a motion by Director Burris and a second by Director Case. Would you please call the roll?
Director Case.
Aye.
Director Maniatarino.
Aye.
Director Moore McClinday,
Aye.
Director Najib,
Aye.
Director Owen Moore,
Excused.
Director Pence,
Aye.
Director Baker,
Aye.
Director Burris,
Yes.
Director Foley.
Aye, resolution is adopted. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Fisher.
Thank you.
Next is item 5C, resolution F0359-04-25 for approval of other student fees, avocational fees, and adult tuition. Mr. Zink, would you come tell us about this, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Before we get into that discussion, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move approve.
Director Baker, is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Dr. G.
Dr. Najib. Thank you,
Yes.
Dr. Najib. All right, Mr. Zink.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, directors and President Cruz and faculty, staff, and guests who are here. So you have in front of you today for your approval the student tuition fees and charges that require your approval for the next academic year 2025-2026. And the way that we presented this is to show you the last 2 years of fees that have been approved and applied. You'll see there's some nominal changes to the college parallel tuition. That is determined at 1.75% increase, and that's determined by the technical college system of the state. So we do not have any purview over making a decision to change that. Same with the post-secondary and vocational adult tuition, which is an increase of 2.24% as shown on the sheet, is also determined at the state level. The one fee that has some level of increase is the student activity fee. That is something that is recommended to the administration to bring forward to you by the Student Government Association. And so these funds are used to support student activities throughout the institution. And they have voted to and asked us to bring forward to you an increase there. The increase is $2.50 per credit hour of enrollment. And so that's what you see down towards the bottom of that sheet, which is really the only other significant change. Some of the other ones, other fees you see are nominal, but we'll be happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions in the room? Any questions from the directors online? Going once, going twice. All right, thank you. We have a motion by Director Baker and a second by Dr. Najib to approve resolution F0359-04-25. Would all those in favor please indicate that by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution is approved. Next agenda item is our regular recurring reports, and first is the chairperson's report. First, the spring 2025 commencement ceremony will take place on Saturday, May 17th at 12 noon at the UW and Panther Arena. The venue has been changed from the Fiserv Forum, which was used for the winter commencement. This change allows us to inform our students of the event date well in advance without having to worry about Bucks playoff scheduling. Sorry. Okay.
I'm trying to get the little thing up at the bottom for him.
Second is the 2025 PBS annual meeting will take place from May 19th to 21st, 2025 in Atlanta, Georgia. As members of PBS, we are invited to attend. The PBS annual meeting is an opportunity to bring key stakeholders together across all public media disciplines. Stakeholders include general managers, programmers, and producers, as well as development, promotion, communication, technology, and education leaders. I expect that we'll hear something about budgetary issues for PBS and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting during those meetings, and probably every day between now and then. For those of you who don't know, current administration proposals are to end funding for all public media in all aspects of the public media mission, as well as to rescind money that was previously authorized for the 2025-26 fiscal year. 3, pinning ceremonies. The nurses' pinning ceremony is scheduled for Tuesday, May 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the downtown campus. The dental hygiene pinning ceremony will be held on Thursday, May 22nd from 4 to 6 p.m. at the downtown Milwaukee campus. Please contact Beth or Peter if you would like to attend either event. The GED AHSHSED Say that fast 3 times, Dr. Cruz. Graduation ceremony will take place on Wednesday, May 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the downtown campus, Cooley Auditorium. Again, please let the president's office know if you would like to attend. Item 5, later this month, the board will receive a link to the annual board self-evaluation instrument. Please complete it by May 15th. And before you answer, I don't know to any question, make a concerted effort to find out the answers. Item 6, Student Ambassador Appreciation Dinner. As I mentioned earlier, the WTCS held its annual Student Ambassadors Appreciation Dinner in Wisconsin Dells on April 10. I attended on behalf of the district board. MATC's honored student ambassador was Naomi Omoruyi. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Yes, okay, great, thank you. Who is a student of the Associate of Science program in the General Education Academic and Career Pathway with plans to transfer into nursing. Originally from Nigeria, Naomi and her mother moved to the United States in 2023 and shifted from a law program to pursue a career in nursing, overcoming early struggles in math, become a math tutor. Each of the 16 student ambassadors gave a 3 to 5 minute speech about the impact of the technical college on their lives. Naomi spoke about how she values the support she's received at MATC and hopes to give back by helping others succeed as she has. She also emphasized that technical college is not a fallback, but a launch pad, offering opportunities for personal growth and helping students discover their true potential. If any of you ever want to see the strength of the emotion and the depth of the emotion that these students have about the opportunities they're getting from the tech colleges, I encourage you to attend this dinner next year. It's really quite an amazing event. Item 7, the Wisconsin Technical College District Boards Association held its annual meeting on April 11 to elect new officers for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2025. The association elected John Wyatt from the Lakeshore College District Board to be the next president. John and current DBA President Chuck Bolstead from Southwestern and Executive Director Diane Handricks are working on a plan to evaluate, update, and improve the association's key activities, including lobbying on behalf of the colleges as a group, educating and training members of all the district boards, and identifying opportunities for collaboration and cost savings among the colleges. I will be addressing that. That is the District Boards Association and its plans for the future in subsequent meetings. Please let me know if you have any questions about the DBA or its activities. Item 8. We should have done this last month. I apologize, but to my great surprise, in March, the MATC District Board Appointment Committee met. The committee appointed 3 individuals to the board for terms expiring June 30, 2028. Director Citlali Mendieta Ramos was appointed to represent employers with 15 or more employees. Congratulations. Supreme Moore Omakundi was appointed as an elected official. Again, congratulations for the reappointment. And Raynetta Hill was appointed as an additional member. This will be the second term from Directors Mendieta Ramos and Moore Omakundi, who were first elected in 2022. Raynetta Hill will be new to the MATC District Board. She is currently the Executive Director for Milwaukee's historic King Drive Business Improvement District number 8, where she oversees over 200 businesses along a 4.5-mile commercial corridor, providing strategic insights and implementation, coaching, and access to resources to support retention, expansion, and sustainability. The appointments are still pending approval before the Wisconsin Technical College system. We hope that approval will be completed in May.
Can we congratulate?
Pardon me?
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me. 9th, the last board meeting, I indicated that I planned to review the work and the recommendations and the following discussions that occurred both in the Financial Oversight Ad Hoc Committee and also the recommendations and work that Director Pence was doing as treasurer and in connection with his role on the Internal Audit Committee, and try to come back to you with a sense of what it all means or how it all sorts out. I'm going to tell you my thoughts about that today. I'm going to ask President Cruz to have someone, probably the General Counsel, revise the current drafts that have been circulated based on the handful of points I'm going to make today. It is my goal to have that ready for presentation to the board at the May meeting as a first read, and then to have a vote up, down, or amend at the June meeting that will bring this process to a fruitful close. So my review and thoughts about this, right or wrong, come down to the following things at this point. The internal audit committee and the internal audit are fundamentally an administrative process, not a board oversight process. We don't run the internal audits. We don't pick the topics. We don't oversee, supervise, and review the performance of the internal auditor. I think that means that the current structure where the chair of this board appoints someone to be the chair of the internal audit committee is probably the wrong structure. That we should have this established as a committee of the administration with a liaison from our board to that committee who will participate, but not chair it and not vote. That's not a reflection on you, Gail. It's just, I don't think structurally it made sense the way it is. The liaison will, of course, report to the board about all important matters that happen there, all concerning matters, good matters, otherwise. And the appointee can advise but not direct, can make suggestions, but should not be the one who acts as a primary drafter of policies or reports or what have you. Second question is, who sets the internal auditor's tasks? It's been a bit of a mystery to me for a few years as to just how that list is generated and if it's reviewed or approved by anyone. The suggestion I'm going to ask that we incorporate into the next draft that review works basically like this. The president is going to decide who the internal auditor reports to within the organization. It should be someone fairly high up himself, maybe one level below himself. I'll leave that up to him, or we will leave that up to him. That is in conflict with the recommendation that the Financial Oversight Committee originally came up with, which I agreed with at the time, and also the recommendation of our Internal Auditors Professional Association. Those recommendations were that the internal auditor should report to the board. I don't think that works in our case because of all the factors I just listed. We aren't really in a position to be that immediate oversight person. It's also not really necessary unless there is an issue that the internal auditor or this board and its members think should be audited that has been rejected or has come up late in the process or involves the auditor himself, the people he reports to, or those above him. Again, I've talked to some of my colleagues in the legal profession who are on boards that handle this in various ways. And I think that the best way to handle this is to say that if any of those situations, conflict situations come up, that we will, as the board, hire an external person or entity to do the internal audit on that subject on a come as it's needed basis. I suggest that we have a conversation with our existing external financial auditors to see how that process might best be designed, or how we can trigger it, those sorts of very practical questions. The other thing is that I believe that the current process really amounts to the internal auditor or senior members of the administration proposing a list of things to be investigated or audited, basically at the beginning of a fiscal year. I think our procedure should provide that when that list is ready to be shared, and we should, say it's probably by September 1st or something like that, that it will be provided to the board again for review and commentary. Is there something we think is missing? Is there something we don't understand? To provide input to the administration and the auditor to go out and do the job, and we will oversee that and judge the results. There's been some discussion about increasing the amount of time that the internal auditor spends on strictly internal financial matters. Our external auditors don't really look closely at the operation of individual departments or subject matters or what have you. I think that, again, it would not work to have it set up in that way, where we are more directly involved. Let me just find the right place in my notes here. Financial audits require a great deal of manpower. We have one internal auditor. And although the ad hoc financial committee's recommendation was to look at increasing the internal audit staff, it would probably take 7 or 8 people working essentially full-time for an extended part of a year to do a serious internal financial audit, depending on how deep they were looking and what the issues were. So again, my recommendation is that we have in our policy that we will consult with our external auditors before the beginning of each fiscal year about whether there is an area that they recommend that we look at more closely, or an area that we want to ask them to look at more closely. And we can decide whether it is worth the cost to do that, and whether we have particular issues. Recommendations that I have received from others indicate that a good way to do this is to either have the target of that deeper audit announced only immediately after it begins, so that nobody who may be engaging in misconduct has a chance to hide it. And second, that you could do that on a revolving basis among a large number of possibilities. You could literally pick them at random, or simply not announce what the target for that year is going to be again, so that it would be harder for someone to plan for an internal audit in order to hide something that that may not be appropriate. Director Pence and our general counsel have looked at, marked up, worked through the description of the treasurer's position. While I would still favor having Director Pence sign each and every check that goes out, he doesn't want to do that anymore. That should not be what the policy says. There are a number of things that are simply obsolete. And I think we have a pretty good draft, maybe better than pretty good. But we do have a pretty good draft of those changes now. What has to happen now, however, is that changes to the treasurer's description have to be coordinated with these other things that we are changing, because there's clearly a referral back and forth, and currently some inconsistencies. The governing articles for the internal audit committee say that the board representative will be someone appointed by the chair. It does not say the treasurer. That person is the chair of that committee. And there is a further requirement that members of the internal audit committee have, I don't remember the exact language, but essentially experience or facility with financial matters. It's not necessary, therefore, to say that the appointee has to have those things, but they are still recommended. Gives the board chair more discretion, frankly, in allocating tasks among and around the board members. See if there's anything else here.
Mr. Chair, can we ask some questions?
1 second. Compliance is the last topic, and then I'll open it up to questions. Compliance functions at some of our sister institutions are either placed with or overseen by a fairly large group of people. MPS has several people that oversee compliance issues. It is no guarantee of all compliance requirements being met. I've asked Dr. Cruz to give the board in some reasonable time a description of what the key compliance issues are, where they reside within the organization, what the timeline is. I think our policy should reflect that those should be identified before the beginning of each fiscal year, and that we should have, as part of our regular board calendar agenda process, a review of the status of the compliance with those key compliance items 30 or 60 days before the deadlines actually are upon us, to make sure that they're being attended to, that there's a projection that they'll be met. So those are my suggestions. We'll have documents to look at the next board meeting, but all of you are welcome to propose amendments, proposed changes, vote for it, vote again. It's that whatever you do, but I wanted to give to the board kind of a cohesive collection of all of it. Now I'd be happy to open it to questions. Director Baker, you want to lead us off?
Well, sure. I'm struggling just a little bit. As you can imagine, I am a very firm believer that boardsmanship is a team sport. So I was on a committee and it came up with some recommendations. And then that committee, which you were on, and then that committee came here. There was, I think, quite a bit of confusion about the recommendations. And so we at that time said the chair and the vice chair should meet with President Cruz, go through these recommendations and see where we are. I do not recall the board saying that the chair should then make the recommendations. I don't necessarily disagree with anything you said. I'm a little stuck in process here. Because I'm familiar with all this stuff and I had a little trouble following you because I don't have any documents in front of me to look at. I don't have suggestions. I don't have, the one document you were referencing where we've gone through the boards, the roles of different members. We were actually changing a number of things in that document. That's not in front of us. The recommendation, you know what I mean? So I'm struggling a little bit with all of that. That said, I don't necessarily disagree with you and I have had some conversations. I don't necessarily disagree. I would have suggested that some of this perhaps go back to a committee for that committee to hash over, as was its charge. And then that committee be able to present it along with the treasurer's suggestions and see what we could do about making those things all jive together as a board. The only one thing then that I will raise for my colleagues as we do review this for a future time is that there were two things within the committee that we talked about. But I think the one thing that struck with me is that internal audit isn't always about financial. Everything has financial implications. But the example was grading, I think, was one of the things that was investigated one time. And I'm sure it has financial implications. But so I think as we think about this and what the roles are within, that we're suggesting as a board, that's something for us to think about. And then again, I'd appreciate if we as a board have some materials in front of us to be able to refer to have this conversation in a sensible manner.
Okay. I'll come back to that. First, I want to find out what other questions there might be.
I have a
Director
question.
Case.
So this is not regarding the committee stuff, if that's okay.
Okay.
So you mentioned the graduation ceremony,
Oh.
BED. Are we doing an apprenticeship banquet this year?
I don't know.
We are. Is there a reason we're not?
The three of us, I'll just.
Right. And you don't have to, I don't want to put you on, I don't want to put you on the spot, but
I don't know.
if somebody could follow up
Yeah.
with an answer, that would be appreciated. I do think that is a valid ceremony. I think as a community college, technical college, our apprenticeships are an important part of who and what we are. So I do feel like it's a disservice if there's not, without understanding the full reason as to why the decision was made. I do. That's it. That's my question. Sorry.
And Cruz, would you have somebody get back to us? about
Sure.
that, please? And-
Thank you.
We'll give you a reason.
Okay, any other questions or comments in the room about anything on the chair's report? Dr. Najib, any questions or comments? We cannot hear you.
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just want to express from hearing what you said. I'm really thank you for the summarizing it for us. And my sense from what you're saying that really our job as a board members is really a supervisory kind of role and not really to get into the details of like day-to-day activity. And it made me feel a bit more comfortable this way because really we don't have the time or also sometimes expertise to get into so much details. But if an expert person, for example, a specialist in that area, they do the audit report, they do what they're supposed to do, and then we can really read it and we can just express our if we have any advice to it or agree with it, not agree with it. I find this from what you said, I think this is our role. And I feel more comfortable with this role rather than really discussing the report in more details.
Thank you. Director Moore-Omokunde, any comments or questions?
No, sir, not at this time. I'm sure I will at a future date.
Okay.
I'll
Director
just
Pence.
mention that I think that the internal audit is an incredible resource for Dr. Cruz to make decisions on. Me personally, I like to be involved in it because it does have implications into the finance side. But I agree with being the chair. I mentioned that. So I think it should be more of a being on the committee or anyway, that's
Right.
the way things are.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, then if I could just respond to Director Baker's comments and questions. I actually agree with everything you said. But what I wanted to do was to move the process forward, accelerate the process of moving it forward. There are no documents to review yet. Just had the conversation with President Cruz today about appointing someone, and would that be the general counsel to take what we have and the things that I just said and come back with a set of documents for the next meeting. My hope is that we will have those well before the next meeting, so that if you want to, and if we want to have a committee meeting, we can do that. I felt that the committee's job was really done, but we can handle that any way that you and Director Mendieta-Ramos might like. So the goal is to get those documents drafted as soon as possible. I would like to circulate them as soon as possible so everybody knows what we're going to be thinking about, can raise questions, what have you, so we can address them all at the next meeting. And then we will have another opportunity to vote yes or no on whatever was said, proposed, et cetera. So I hope I'm not overstepping in the end, but right now I understand why it looks like that.
Or is that?
Or is that?
I won't be at the next meeting, so.
Oh. Okay. We'll have to talk about that. All right.
I'm coming back from Portugal.
I was gonna say, aren't you in Portugal?
And we have a meeting in Portugal?
I'm down.
I'm not afraid.
I'm yep.
Lisbon, Porto.
Well, what day would that be now? I think I'll be in Cambria.
Oh. I think I know what restaurants you're gonna be at, don't I? All right, next on the agenda is the president's.
Thank you, Chair Foley, board members, Representative Murphy, and MATC community. Just give you an update of some of the things that have happened in the last month. Recently, more than 1,500 sophomores from Milwaukee Public Schools explored career options during Explore Your Future event here at MATC. The sophomores toured our campuses and experienced hands-on activities in programs like truck driving, welding, and others. This is one of the marquee events for M-Cubed initiative, and always a good thing to show students that are in high school about different types of future careers, specifically the ones that we can help them with here at MATC. The MATC Seed Library is open through May 10th at the Mequon campus library. The Seed Library is a joint educational project between the Mequon campus library and the MATC Landscape Horticulture Program, and offers more than 40 types of seeds for MATC community members. This is the 6th year of this project, which is given out to seeds to over 600 households. Up to 5 free mini packs of seeds can be picked up at the Mequon campus. Seeds can also be ordered through the library website and then picked up at the MATC library. Something, if you're looking for seeds, we got the seeds.
Nice.
Yeah, why not? Right?
No, they do.
They do, yeah. I just want to update you that from April 6th to the 9th, I was at the Lucian Live Conference, and I had the honor of being part of one of 40 college presidents that were chosen to participate in their President's Circle. And so in addition to being at the conference and learning a lot about different types of technology and things like that, the President's Circle really allowed the 40 of us college presidents to talk about pressing issues in higher education, including things that we've been seeing in the news, things about DEI, about federal funding, about even about accreditation, regional accreditation, and other topics, student success, and other things that are really important to us as college leaders. That's something that seems like going to be an ongoing thing that we'll be doing every year. With Lucian, again, we've been a Lucian client for about 25 years. So that's something that we'll continue to do hopefully in the future. And I think it's really great to learn from our peer institutions, and some that aren't even peer institutions. There are universities and colleges, technical colleges, community colleges, part of this bigger conference. So a really great event and really great experience to have those types of conversations. I had the pleasure of attending the Latino Entrepreneurial Legacy Gala Awards this past Saturday. And this award recognizes individuals exemplifying excellence in entrepreneurship, innovation, and community impact. And I want to congratulate again Director Mendieta Ramos for being one of those recipients of that award. So let's give her a hand. Very impactful night. So many individuals that do so much for our community, and it was great to be there to celebrate the director and so many others, 15 others that were celebrated that evening. Our strategic plan, and we know that a little bit later you'll be getting a full report from Dr. Michelay, but I just wanted to share with you that in last month's meeting, we had talked about a draft of the new strategic plan that's already been reviewed by cabinet and by the strategic planning steering committee, really building on the efforts that we had during our February retreat and regular updates. Tonight's agenda includes that opportunity to see the plan, which I believe serves as a great framework for what we're going to be doing going forward as a college and looking at. So it gives you the framework, and then we'll be building on specific goals in those different areas that are going to guide us, guide the work that the college will be doing during the next 5 years. So I look forward to Dr. Michelay's, and I think you've already seen the presentation, but she'll be coming up and talking about that and answering any questions specifically about the plan in a few minutes. Also, you'll be listening to Mr. Zink. It will talk to you about our budget, our current budget, this year's budget, where we are, and then in addition to that, what we're looking for towards next year's budget. Again, we're planning for a balanced budget for next year, and as part of that, there are different things that we're looking at, such as workforce plans. We've looked at our healthcare costs. In addition to that, our Zansel costs, which are payments that are made to faculty for non-instructional activities, and also our discretionary spending. So all those things will be given to you in detail, but I just wanted to give you kind of like a little bit of insight is that, we've been working very hard. We've shared with the board where we are and what their thoughts have been as we've been building this budget. Again, you're going to be seeing this in a little bit more of in its totality tonight, and you'll be able to ask any questions that you may have. On the enrollment side, as we're wrapping up our spring enrollment is about 6% higher than it was this time last year, and it's 4% higher than our budgeted goal for this year. And we've given you, and we've put on your chairs, a copy of something that Director Pence had asked for, which is basically our enrollment by zip code as a college, which gives you the top 20 zip codes. And there were many more zip codes, but we kind of looked, the list was like probably 60, I don't know what the number was, very much, but the top 20 zip codes, and then breaking them down by percentage of our enrollment. So it gives you kind of an idea of where our students are coming from, different places in the country.
Appreciate it.
Oh, it's in the packet.
For a minute.
Oh. No, yeah. Is that what it's?
Yeah, I mean, 219, this part of West Dallas, but not 227.
Right.
I was
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah, so it goes by, but those are the top 20.
Where-
Yeah. And, well, and that concludes my report.
Any questions for President Cruz? It
Could
depends.
we just do like a simple heat map or something of the code so we can see?
It's really difficult to read.
We could try it again, but the first attempt was very difficult.
I guess my thoughts on it to see how our outreach is
Like
regional.
our impact.
Okay.
Because you don't necessarily know where all these zip codes are.
Maybe we just get a zip code
this
map.
is- All right, no, but it was another, what was that?
The cities.
5321.
I'll send them.
So we're gonna send you something that there was another document that I think it was a document that came after this. That shows basically by location. So it gives you like by city. So it gives you a little bit more insight rather than just the numbers.
Mm.
So we'll send that to you
Okay.
right away because I think we had that document, right?
I can share it.
Yeah,
Maybe you
as well.
should.
But we'll still work on any heat map if that's what you'd like to see. We can do that.
I just thought it could be something.
This is fine. I mean, maybe you need
Very cool,
maybe
yes.
need some more.
But again, that other document will give you more insight because they'll have the cities on it instead of those numbers.
Yeah. And this is where the vast majority of our students come from.
Correct.
these zip codes.
The top 20.
That's very cool. At least I made the top one.
Any other questions for President Cruz?
Yes.
Director Najib?
Dr. Cruz, I don't know if I missed it. Maybe you mentioned it. What is the percentage of the Hispanic student in MATC at this time?
We're still about, the last time that we reported it, I think it's at 23.4%.
Okay. And with the new changes with the DI issue, it changed anything about the percentage, the benefit, and all what's related to it?
Well, it's too early to tell how that will impact. I think either by fall, we'll see more of that because it's a fuller semester. It gives a better picture of what that impact will be. From now till then, we'll still continue to have the same types of outreach efforts that we've had in the past to different communities in our area. So that we hope that will not have an impact. When it comes to HSI status, and that designation by the federal government, that's still in question. Again, that's something that's happening at the federal level. My commitment is regardless of whether or not HSI as a federal designation continues or whether the HSI designation comes with funding, we will continue to still work very diligently in recruitment and outreach to the Hispanic community and continue to hopefully welcome all students here to the college.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Director Mora-Mukundi, do you have any questions? Director Mendieta Ramos?
Well, I was just gonna say that the Department of Education's website, if you click on the HSI page, it's gone. So,
Wow.
But what I've been told is that that was part of some type of executive order that now is being contested in the courts. For the moment,
anything I've looked in the past.
Yeah.
Is just broken links,
Broken
gone.
links.
Yes.
And Director Bacon?
Can I ask a question on a different, can I ask something about the dashboard since you raised the things? And I don't want to put anybody on the spot, so if this is something you need to get us info on,
Sure.
or I'm guessing it's something in process, but I glance at all the dashboard things and we're just kind of low in our foundation support. Is that because we're expecting things coming later in the year, or we're lower from our target?
Okay. Or you want to?
I'm sorry, I think
We have multiple gifts that are in process and it's a matter of donor timing and whether that's going to happen at the close or later.
So some years, like 2 years ago, our target was, I think it was 3 million and we hit 9 million because we just got a major gift. And so the foundation's budget, which I know Director Case is a part of that as the liaison. The budget in our actual foundation budget documents is a
Please,
4
could
million.
you pass for a second?
Want me to step out?
She needs to step out.
This conversation.
No,
Yes, good.
why would-
Yeah,
Hold
yeah.
on.
That'd be
Yeah,
best.
I think so. Thank you.
Oh. Oh.
Thank you, Director Burks.
The foundation's board adopts a budget and that budget for like inflows and outflow purposes has a $4 million goal.
Mhm.
And this is a $5 million stretch goal. And so we'll see where we end up.
Okay.
But the commitment to what we're spending for student scholarships is being met. So it may just be the timing of gifts. Yeah.
And,
Does that help?
but you're optimistic. That's what I was asking.
I
The
don't,
question was, is it timing? You're optimistic. There's a bunch of things in process.
There is a bunch of stuff in process and I'm optimistic that it will be higher than it is there. I don't know if we're gonna hit the 5 million.
Yep, great. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks.
Any other questions related to Director President Cruz? Okay.
Should we get her back in?
Director Burke, please join us.
I'll be back there eating all your food.
We didn't give you much time. Right, next is the treasurer's report.
All right, short and sweet. On April 15th, tax day, we had our quarterly review meeting with PFM. Paul Zink was a part of this, his first meeting. We asked a lot of questions. Asset allocations are within program guidelines for each trust. Investment returns are within applicable indices. Overall performance over the past 12 months and 3 months periods have been strong. However, that's up to March 31st. So we'll see we'll close our eyes and see what happens next, the next meeting. We're very, very pleased with the support and the performance of PFM. PFM also came and met with Paul individually and kind of went through everything with him. Gave him a solid overview of the college's OCIO investment platform, which is outsourced chief investment officer platform. There were questions about timing of draws and things like that Paul and the team asked that were very engaging, and it was a good meeting. Other than that, we'll see what happens next. We'll see what happens on the next meeting that we have. So that is it today. Any questions?
Any questions in the room? Any questions from the directors online? All right, thank you very much. Go on to the next agenda item, which is the District Student Senate report. Mr. Warren Murphy, the chair, the seat is yours.
Thank you, Chair Foley, Dr. Cruz, board, administration, and members of the community. As we approach the end of the academic year, students are starting final projects and trying to finish the semester strong. With that, I know many of us are looking forward to walking at our commencement ceremony, and I hope many of you can join us there. Our district student association has also been preparing to finish the semester strong. One major step we've taken is updating our fee funding guidelines. These updates are meant to make the process easier and more transparent for student orgs, but also put into place some safeguards. We're introducing a match. So it's not as easy to ask for money, but it's much more clear, and it makes it possible for us to sustain our funds for a longer period than we would have otherwise. As we round out the academic year, we're currently in the middle of our DSA election process, and it's exciting to see how many new leaders are interested. As an organization, we're excited to be able to pass the torch to such a passionate group of students. We've had a healthy turnout of candidates, and we're looking forward to having newly elected officers before the semester is out. The DSA elections aren't the only thing happening for our students. In May, our BSU will be having our MATC BSU Adult Prom, which will bring students together from all backgrounds for an evening of celebration. Events like this build lasting memories for our students and help to form strong bonds between them. And we appreciate all of the work that the BSU team has put forth to create such a wonderful event. As this is my final board report, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank each of you for your belief in student leadership, your commitment to our community, and just in general. It has been a great honor to serve as a voice for students and to work along so many of you who obviously deeply care about our students. I've learned a lot and I'm leaving with a full heart. I'm proud of the impact we've had together, and I have no doubt that the college is in good hands. Thank you again for your time and for your opportunity to serve.
Thank you for your service. It has been a pleasure and insightful to have you here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next is the
Chairman?
I'm sorry.
If I may, I wanted to say something for our parting colleague here.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say how much a pleasure that it has been to have you in the building, in MATC at the college, and also to have you present in Madison as well, and doing your work and advocating on students there as well. I really appreciate those who dive in that deeply to care for and be proactive about their care for their fellow students. And so I am expecting great things from you in the future, and I look forward to continuing our relationship in some way, shape, or form. And thank you so much for your service, and I'm looking forward to what you continue to do in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Director Moore. Omakunde.
Any other comments?
What he said.
Next is the bi-monthly report of Milwaukee PBS General Manager Debbie Hamlet. Debbie, please come on up.
I hope you run for office or something. Very, really impressive. Let's see, I'll start with our fundraising goal update. This year, our goal was $8 million. To date, we're at $7,152,000. About 89% of the goal, which we're thrilled with. Of course, we're gonna raise the goal next year. But don't tell staff that. I talked to PBS programming a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago now, and they have accepted the Adrian Dunn Gospel Show to air nationally, date to be announced later, but that was a really, we're thrilled about that. By now, you may have heard, and you did hear from Chair Foley, the White House is expected to send a rescissions package to Capitol Hill on Monday, the 28th. This would eliminate previously appropriated funding for public media, and it would include the fiscal year 26-27, a total of $535 million. Upon receipt by Congress, there's a 45-day clock for Congress to act. Members of Congress could amend the package to take items out, or it could arrive with items already taken out. If Congress doesn't act within the 45-day time period, the funding must be released. The package will go to appropriation committees in the House and the Senate first. And CPP funding for Milwaukee PBS is approximately 19% of our budget, about $1.9 million. Last month, we started a 9-month accelerated, I would say, digital transformation project. It's a lot, but it's been really good for the staff. It's a CPB funded, grant funded initiative. And the program is developed by the Poynter Institute, the gold standard for professional development of journalists. The program is going to help us to increase our digital competency, learn best practices for increasing audience and revenue growth while engaging in cross collaboration. Data and analytics training are also a part of the program, and we'll build a dashboard to track key performance indicators with them showing us how to do that. We participated in Literacy Day at Engine 28. This is on North 30th Street on April 14th. There were 78 first, second, and third graders. who left this event very happy with a PBS backpack, activity sheets and books. So adorable too. And I'm happy to report that we've had great candidate interviews through Stanton Chase, a search firm that you approved a couple of months ago for the chief content and chief technology positions. And we're close to making an offer and hope to welcome 2 new team members soon. With that, I'll take any questions anyone might have.
Any questions in the room? Any questions from the directors online?
Yes.
Dr. Najib.
Could you tell us if there's any preparation for how we're gonna compensate for that 19% possible cut in your funding?
It's hard to prepare for something that happens really quickly. But we are working on what that looks like. I don't have specifics for you today, but I'd be happy to get that to you.
Any other questions from the board members? I would like you to go over one thing, the process on the decision. Could you go over how that works again?
Sure. Let's see.
So he's gonna file, the
It's,
president is expected to send this out on Monday, the 28th. So then what happens?
And then there's a 45-day clock for Congress to act.
And does Congress have to act to approve the rescission, or Congress has to act to stop the rescission?
That's a good question. I don't know which way that vote goes.
Okay.
But we can find out.
Is the station involved in any efforts or aware of any efforts to encourage Wisconsin members of Congress to vote whatever the right way is, yay or nay on this?
Yes, we've made visits to all of the folks in our designated market area. I doubt that we're not gonna change minds on it. In fact, everybody that we saw and that have talked to since is in support of what we do. But they talk about how the budget is that we're over budget as a country. And that's what I've heard from a couple of different people. We have a very good supporter in Senator Baldwin. So we're in good hands there, and she sits on the appropriation committee, which is good. So we'll keep trying. We do have TV spots going. We do have things in our newsletter, things on our website. So if anybody wants to contact Protect My Public Media, that's the organization that we're working through to collect testimonials and things that people would say that they would value about Milwaukee PBS. There are also national spots that have been rolled out too.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Next is item 7, board monitoring. Yes.
Just kind of off of the report, there's a legislative breakfast next Friday, this Friday. Is this part of the agenda of TV or? Probably not. No, it's
No, it's not.
Can it?
Okay, thanks.
Could it be?
Should it next week?
No, not next
Could it be
time,
part of the breakfast?
on
The
Friday.
legislative breakfast. That's a topic.
And again, I don't, I think the planners should see whether that's an appropriate fit or the appropriate
Let me get.
venue or whatever for it. It was mostly just a question.
Thank you, that's a good idea.
Good question.
Especially if it's mostly state.
It's mostly state.
You do have
There's some-
representatives from Brian Style, Gwen Moore, Tammy, and Ron Johnson.
Well, Moore and Baldwin are strongly supportive of public
Right.
television.
But at least the initial list I saw had representative from Styles' office and from Johnson's office.
Sure, I can get back early in the morning.
Anything else on that topic? All right, moving on to board monitoring, Mr. Zink, Vice President of Administration and Operations, to talk about fiscal year 25 year-end budget performance projections.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon again. So you all should have a couple of documents in front of you. I'm going to walk through those documents on screen. So hopefully we can kind of get through that quickly. I'll just remind you, I've only been here 5 weeks and I've not presented to you before, so please be kind. But certainly,
We are kind.
certainly want to make sure, if you have any questions, please stop me. There'll be certainly time for discussion and questions as well. So we'll do our best. I and staff will do our best to answer your questions as we go through this. So thank you very much. We can go on to the next, the first slide, please. So just an overview. We'll start with the fiscal year end performance projection. Just a reminder, our fiscal year ends on June 30th, 2025. So we're rapidly approaching that date. Our projections that are presented on the documents you have in front of you and on screen here today include actual performance through March and then an estimate of April through June. That's just based on our trend analysis and fiscal analysis of how we have performed in the past and how we expect to see that. So I stress the word projection. And we still got, a couple of months to go to get to the end of here. Next slide, please. You should see something that looks like this on one of the documents in front of you. I'll just explain maybe the presentation real quick. It has a number of categories there. The yellow column is the actual performance of our operating budget last year, the last fiscal year. The blue is what was approved for the budget for this year, and the green column is what we are projecting for that 6/30 end. You will note at the very top there is a colored line that talks about FTE enrollment, and so the good news there, as you're already aware, we are higher than the budget projection by almost 400 FTE, and that's a total of 535 more than we achieved last year. Next slide, please. I always think it's a good idea to talk about at a very high level where our money comes from and just make sure we're all aware of that. So you see, I also was taught very early on in my finance career that you can't be a finance officer if you don't have pie charts and graphs in your presentation. So we'll start with the pie chart here. The biggest portion, about 46% of our funding, comes from state appropriations from the state process. Approximately 28% comes locally from property taxes levied in Milwaukee County and that portion of Ozaukee County. And those are the things that really allow us to provide a tremendous value by keeping our tuition and fees really low for the students that come here. You can see that piece only makes up about 22% of our general revenue for the operating fund. And that other revenue source is kind of small. That's a sort of all other pieces. I'll talk about those here in just a bit. Next slide, please. So starting with property tax, you see here the property tax revenue is near our budget projection. We're usually pretty good about estimating this. Again, as a reminder, we levy a property tax in Milwaukee County, Ozaukee County, a part of Ozaukee County. This increase is nearly $900,000 from last year to this year. Again, just as a reminder, we receive most of this revenue. This is not something that's received regularly throughout the year. Most of it comes at the very beginning of the calendar year as folks pay their property taxes. And also as a reminder, we're limited as far as our increase of property tax revenue by statute, that it can only be as much as the taxable value on new construction within our taxing district. So we don't have a lot of control over this number, but we're certainly glad to receive it. Moving on to the next slide, state funding, again, the biggest chunk of where our money comes from. We're usually pretty good at estimating this. You do see that we had an increase in receipts this year, and that included actually an adjustment from last year that was the true up of the performance-based funding that we received within this fiscal year. So that's what that represents there. And that true up has to do with how our performance is in the overall performance of the technical colleges as related to how the performance is of the other technical colleges. Moving on to the next slide, our tuition and fees. So there's actually 3 lines there. I've just combined them for simplicity. You see increased revenue here this year because of the increase in full FTE students. These total about $40.8 million. That's an increase of 2.1 over what we budgeted and an increase of 3.3 million from last year. Fees, again, as a reminder, we already talked about when you did the fee resolution, we don't have a lot of control over the tuition and fees that hit the general operating fund here. That's also determined by the state. Moving on to the next slide, other revenue. So other revenue comes from a number of categories of non-course related revenue. This includes things like our contracted education, that's the workforce solutions, other fees and fines and things like that. Most importantly, where we see the big increase this year over last year of 630,000 has to do with interest revenue on cash that's sitting in our accounts. In the overall sense, on the next slide, you see our total revenue for the year. $185 million is what we're estimating to come out. And so that's about $4 million up from the projection that was programmed in the budget, or 2.2%. So on the next slide, usually a good place to pause as we finish revenue if you have any questions related specifically to revenue for this year. Yes, sir.
What is the $110,000 of federal revenue?
The $110,000 is presented separately and discreetly. It's a requirement of our state reporting that we present that separately and discreetly. And this has to do with some revenue we received from the federal government related to Title IV aid and our administration of that. There's a very small portion we get for each student.
Okay,
and because
for the people watching online, what is Title IV-A?
Title IV aid includes any kind of aid that's received from the federal government, such as Pell Grants, Pell Aid, student loans, SEOG, federal work study, all of those things combined. So this is aid that's given to our students, and this is our payment from the government for processing those payments.
And also in this similar vein, what does institutional revenue mean?
Institutional revenue is really a category that is kind of other revenue. In a lot of business, we call it in the accounting sense, miscellaneous income. So this includes revenue that's not course related and not state funding and not property tax. That includes our contracted services, for example, that we do with the workforce group, where we do that training. It includes fees and fines for things that are not course related. It also includes the interest income. It would include rental income if some outside user uses our campuses. All of those other sort of miscellaneous categories in aggregate.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions at this point, Director Pence?
Just because I have to mention it as a taxpayer, I live in Washington County. That is part of the district.
There's a small portion there as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution.
That's right.
Thank you, Director.
You want to bring your tax bill and show?
Right.
Sorry for digressing. All right, continue.
Moving on to the next slide, the expense side of the budget. And again, I think it's good at the 30,000 foot view to look at where our money is spent. So you see here about 64% of our expenditures are related to wages and compensation, about another 24% for employee benefit programs and the benefit side of the house. Only about the remaining 12% for discretionary spending. I like to call that the stuff money, or its operating budget. It's all the other stuff. So that includes everything from pens and pencils to utilities and paper in the restroom. So it's really a small portion of what we do overall. On the next slide, we'll go through a little bit more detail of the expenses. Wages, you see, we are predicting to end up the year at $122 million. That is about $3.5 million from our projection. The reasons for this, which appears as an overage to the budget projection. When we programmed the budget last year, you may recall we were discussing about achieving some savings in the Zansel, which we continue to discuss, and you'll see that again in the next year budget. We also had a change to a new pay model for part-time instructors for adjunct faculty. And the impact of that was more than we had anticipated when we were programming the budget model. Those two things primarily are what is there by way of that increase. And so you'll see that in the next category in the next slide related to benefits. Those things also relate to the benefits expense. Portion of benefits, of course, is related to a percentage of salary. Not all of it, but a portion. You see here, we were about $2.7 million over the projection, and that was due to those salary increases. And also a big portion of that is the upward trend in healthcare costs, which we continue to see growing and growing and growing. So we'll talk about that in the next year budget a little bit as well. And again, just as a reminder, wages and benefits make up a little bit more than 88% of our total spending. So that, along with our mission of serving students, we surely are a people business sort of thing. Moving on to the next slide, the discretionary budgets. This is a piece of good news. We project we'll be down almost $680,000 from our projection. That's about 3%. And this is just through careful monitoring in several departments across the institution of spending. So that's where we're projecting based on our trend analysis to land at just about almost $22 million in total. And so on the next slide, you see the year-end projection. The year-end projection will show, if we go to the next slide, please. So this shows, and again, you have this on the papers in front of you. It shows our revenue and our expenses. Our year-end projection is about a $3.1 million off what our initial budget projection at this time last year was for the fiscal year. We knew that some of that would be offset by the use of the remaining reserved higher education emergency relief funding. So we will deplete the remainder of those funds this year. The rest of that will, whatever we end up at the end of the year, the 1.6 million that's shown on screen and on your paper, will impact our fund balance. Just a note on that, last year after the audit and all the year-end adjustments, our fund balance sat at about $42 million, which allows for us to pull from this fund balance and still be well within the guidelines that are established in our reserve policy. With that, on the next slide, I'll certainly be happy to try to answer any questions you have over the fiscal 25 budget performance projection.
Questions? Director Baker.
First, it was like a really good explanation. Thank you. I like
good.
pie charts.
Very pleased.
And all, seriously,
Very
and
pleased.
good, like a good amount of depth to give us enough. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
So what I see in our revenues that we're up 4 million. I see in our expenses, we're down 3 million, and after using the HERF funds, 1.6. So will we be balanced with a little extra going into reserves, or am I misreading that?
That 1.6 will in fact have to come from reserves. We'll look at the year-end spending. Again, you see there's some elasticity left within our operating budget, but that's such a small portion of what we spend.
Okay.
We're projecting we will end up with that deficit balance at the end of the year, so it'll just be drawn or impact our reserve net assets.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So the 4 million extra that we had in revenue was already taken out of the number.
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
that's correct.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for taking the time to make such a detailed presentation.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any questions from the directors online?
You were scared.
You are being very kind. Thank you.
Did a great job.
Give us a chance. No,
Right. We're not as bad as they say, right?
Not all the time. True.
You guys are not helping.
All right, let's move on to the review of the fiscal year 26 area operating bus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So continuing on our time machine, we talked about the past and the present. Now we're looking into the future. So a quick overview. This is a preliminary budget. You do probably know we have a public hearing on the budget on June 17th. That's regularly scheduled each year, and then you hopefully will be able to approve the budget at the next subsequent board meeting. Bottom line up front, and Dr. Cruz already stole my headline, but we are in balance in our preliminary operating budget. So I don't like to bury the headline. Like to make sure you know that on the front end, but I'll show how we got there and talk about that here briefly. Moving on to revenue. You see here two pie charts. You see the pie chart for where we ended up, where we're projecting to end up fiscal year 25, and then you see fiscal 26. And you see there's not a whole lot of change. Even though the numbers change, the proportionality of where our funding comes from really doesn't change year over year very drastically. So I just thought this would be a good representation to show we're about where we expect to be from a standpoint of revenue. Moving on to the next slide, talking about revenue, we'll go through the same. So again, you have this document in front of you. The three columns that are on the sheet, the blue column is that year-end budget projection for the current, that is our last year approved budget. The blue column, the green, is the same that you saw in the previous several sets of slides, which was our year-end projection. And the sort of pink or salmon colored column is where we're projecting in our preliminary budget projection for the next fiscal year 2026. And once again, our fiscal year begins, of course, on July 1st. You see that from a standpoint of enrollment at the top, we're projecting an additional 150 FTE from where we landed this year or where we're projected to land this year. And so that's an overall increase in the budget of 550 year over year. Moving on to the next slide. Revenue from property tax, we're projecting a modest increase here once again. We do have that property tax rate setting process that happens in the fall. And we estimate that increase at about $1 million. And that's, again, based on the taxation value of new construction within our taxing district. So we're doing an estimate here, and we'll true that up when we get to that tax rate setting process and see what taxable values are within the taxing district. Moving on to state funding, we're estimating an increase here of $830,000, which is just about 1%, a little less than 1%. From the fiscal 2025 budget. So a total of state funding of $86 million, $86.7 million. And again, just a reminder on that, in Madison, they're going through, that budget process and the legislative process. There could be some change there. We may also see some change on the true up that happens related to the performance side of funding with the technical college systems. Again, as our best estimate, we're usually pretty good at estimating this from what I understand, however. Moving on to student-related income, you've already approved the increase to student fees for next year. There's also the increase in FTE, so this is why you see here a total of $42.3 million, which is $1.4 million more than we expect to end this current fiscal year, and approximately $3.6 million more than was programmed in the budget last year. Moving on to that next category, which I've titled other revenue, all those miscellaneous revenues, if you will, that we talked about just a bit ago. That remains relatively flat year over year. We'll have to see if we might get a plus up again from interest incomes. We're still waiting to see what happens, of course, with on the federal side of the house by way of interest rates and all of those things. And lastly, moving on to total revenue, you see our total revenue here is about $1.4 million more than current projections and about $5.5 million more than the budget was programmed last year. So on the next slide, I'll again pause as we move from revenue to the fun part of spending money and see if you have any questions we can answer.
Any questions from the directors online? Director Morrow-McClundy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I saw that our only increase was in student fees in your lovely pie charts there. We don't expect that to be a continuing trend, correct?
I wouldn't expect that to be a trend. When you look at the two pie charts together, Director, is that what you're referring to, I think?
Yes.
Right. And part of that is actually that it's not so much the increase in the student fees, but it's kind of a reduction a little bit in the wages. So, that offsets and just kind of, it's how we divide up the pie, if you will. Once again, our changes to fees that we discussed earlier on that item on your agenda, the tuition rates are set at the state level, and we don't have any way to adjust those internally here at your discretion. And the one other fee that we did increase was the increase that the student government asked for through the process that they go through. So I really have no way to predict what's going to happen at the state level by way of controlling fees and such. I'll tell you that it's just not something we can control here at this table. I hope that answers your question or concern.
It does. Thanks.
Let me just ask a follow-up about that. Isn't the difference between the two charts a decline in the miscellaneous revenue category? A relative decline?
It's a relative decline. Again, if you're looking at the overall revenue and overall expense, both of those numbers are going up. So the other numbers are going up, whereas we're flat on that other miscellaneous revenue side.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions in the room, Director Baker?
And just about that, and that's an assumption off of interest. That's a function of interest that we would be getting, the reason that it's lower.
Correct. We saw the increase in interest this year, and a lot of that's just the timing of when cash is in the bank versus when cash goes out, inflows and outflows. We don't really have a way to necessarily predict how that'll work and if we'll see that same increase next year. And of course, for part of this year, interest rates were a little bit higher and then they've dropped just a little bit. We don't know exactly what the Fed's going to do related to interest rates.
Okay,
Thank you for the question.
Any other questions for Mr. Zink?
So lastly, moving on then to the expense side of the budget. Again, I'll show you the two pie charts. You see it's relatively about the same. Discretionary spending is about 12% on each year. The wages and benefits expense make up about 88% of our overall expenditures. We'll kind of go through the individual detail of these on the next slide. We'll start with wages. So wages, you see that it's really only a slight increase year over year. Dr. Cruz mentioned we've done a lot of work this year on the workforce plans and a commitment to stick to those and more appropriately manage within the workforce plans. So we've seen some savings to our salary and wage expense here. And we also are hoping to see some reductions or savings with better management of that SANCL spending that we've been talking about for some period of time. Moving on to benefits. Benefits expense. So if we're able to control the salary expense, that of course correlates to benefit expense. So so that is there. You also heard from Dr. Cruz. We'll continue to work as we go through the health plan, which is really the majority of the benefit expense that is not that is somewhat controllable, I should say. As we work on that process for renewal of our health plan expense, health plan and those expenses. To see if we can stay within the allocated budget for benefits expense. Again, health plan cost is something across the board in almost every industry. It just continues to go up. So we'll be exploring how we might be able to better manage within those limits. Moving on to the next slide where we discuss discretionary budgets, you'll see here that they are overall flat from last year's budget from this current year's budget to next year's budget. We did make some adjustments within certain departmental budgets for mandatory increases, things like utility increases that we know will happen, things that we can't control, subscription services and things like that. But we were able to maintain flat in discretionary budgets by adjusting that from one budget to another or within our own spending patterns. So we're pretty confident with what's being presented. We'll be able to live with that for the next fiscal year. And then on the last, I believe the last slide, or maybe second to last slide, talking about total expense, you see total expense is about a $1.5 million reduction from what we are projecting to end this current fiscal year at. And it is, however, about $4 million more than the last year program's fiscal year budget. And on the next slide, again, the headline that was not buried, we do have an equal amount of revenue, income, and expenses. And so the preliminary operating budget is in balance. And with that, I'll be happy to take your questions.
Any questions from the directors online? Dr. Najib, if you're talking to us, we cannot hear you. You're muted.
No, I don't have a question.
Ah, okay. Anyone in the room? All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Good work, Paul. Thank you.
Next is review draft the strategic plan. Let's see, we have Dr. Jennifer, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. Nicolay. Okay. My apologies. Director of Quality Planning and Assessment.
Yes.
That part I knew.
I liked Paul's idea of asking for everyone to be nice. Like that's pretty good. I would have never thought of that.
Starting a dream.
We only got one.
It only works the first 6 months you're here, so.
Okay, yeah.
It's a rough bunch here.
I am celebrating my 10-year anniversary at MATC.
All right, take it easy, take it easy.
Thank you. So thank you so much for all of your support and engagement this year with our strategic planning process. We can continue to make progress, and I hope that you'll be happy with what I'm going to share with you today. Just as a couple reminders, I shared a formal update with you at our October board meeting and then at your district board retreat in February. you contributed directly to help shape the plan, and we really appreciate that. I'm hoping that you'll see some of your efforts in what I show you. So as also as Dr. Cruz shared in his report last month, we took your feedback and we've continued to refine a plan that will help MATC address current and emerging challenges. And at this time, I'd like to present the plan to you as a first read, and we hope that you'll be willing to consider approval at the May board meeting. Next slide. Before I walk you through the plan, I just want to show you again our process. And this process has emphasized invitation, inclusion, and intentionality, and it's been running for 9 months now. In the summer, Dr. Cruz, in his first all-college address, invited students, faculty, staff, and community stakeholders to come to the table and share their voices during the planning process. In the fall semester, we formed a large strategic planning steering committee with 36 members, including 4 students, along with balanced participation of faculty, staff, and administration. With the steering committee guidance, we created spaces for sharing input, and the input sessions provided insight on strengths and opportunities that people see for MATC, aspirations that they have for our institution, and results they'd like to see from us as we move toward 2030. And then also in fall, you approved our vision and mission statements. So moving into this semester, we gathered student input and heard from you at your board retreat. Along with the ideas you shared, the Strategic Planning Steering Committee, Executive Leadership Team, and President's Cabinet have all contributed insights to refine the plan that I'll now present to you. Next slide. Across all of the stakeholder feedback during this process, we heard widespread appreciation for MATC's mission, vision, and values. We also heard strong interest in having a plan that focuses on what is most important to fulfilling our mission, reaching our vision, and living our values. Stakeholders indicated preference for a strategic framework that we could all understand and we could rally around as we do our work over the next 5 years. So the next slide shows you our simple starting place, 3 strategic priorities. Student success, starting with our students. Students will gain the knowledge and skills to thrive. Going to community trust, our partnerships expand regional economic opportunity. And then looking inward, our caring culture, employees model care and professionalism in every interaction. And we really see these 3 strategic priorities as being mutually supportive and one feeding to the other. So these will describe where we'll be focusing our improvement efforts to fulfill the MATC mission. And for each of these 3 strategic priorities, we have 3 main objectives. And college leadership then will use the strategic priorities and those related objectives to create annual operational goals, which employees then align to, and so that we're all working together on this. The next slide breaks down what the objectives are under student success. So you can see there focus on delivering hands-on transformative learning experience, elevating student involvement and sense of belonging, and then providing student-centered, steadfast access to supportive resources. Under community trust, the next slide, the 3 objectives for this, strengthen career readiness and employment pathways, deepen relationships with K-16 partners, and cultivate economic mobility. And then the final area, there's also 3 objectives here that you can see under caring culture. We nurture employee engagement and appreciation, invest in employee professional growth, and promote employee well-being and connectivity. So those connections and growth and appreciation among the employees build that caring culture. So at your seat, you have a version of this overview that shows kind of the high level, big picture, where how everything fits together, including the most important results that we can achieve together through this plan, along with possible metrics that we can use to measure our progress. And the Strategic Planning Steering Committee continues its work this month and next month to bring more specifics to this as we begin to look toward operationalizing the plan. And for example, at our meeting next week, the marketing and communications team, along with Dr. Cruz, are scheduled to attend the meeting and to facilitate a process to help name the plan. So that's one of the important specifics that we need as well as we look toward your approval. I think I have just one more slide here. After you approve the plan and college employees start doing the work, your monthly dashboard can potentially be adjusted so that you can follow along with the process and our progress. And then just a couple more reminders here at the end of my presentation. One is that, as I've shared in my previous conversations with you, the Higher Learning Commission standards require that all accredited institutions use systemic planning for the purpose of quality improvement. So that quality focus is a big part of this. We're very happy to be on track to begin our new fiscal year in July with the strategic plan completed and with your support. So a big thank you to each of you for being part of the process, and to Dr. Cruz, the executive leadership team, for all of your interest and support. I also would like to acknowledge Art Garcia, my co-chair on the Strategic Planning Steering Committee, all the members of that committee. And we look forward to bringing the plan to you again in May for your final review and approval. And I'm happy to respond to any questions you have now.
Any questions in the room?
Yeah.
Any questions from our directors online?
No.
Director Moro Mukundi, any questions?
That was nice.
Well, that was really good.
Yes, thank you. Wow.
Thank you for your answers to my questions. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the questions. Those were good ones.
This is a nice relationship.
All right. Thank you again.
Just want to thank Dr. Michelet. I want to thank the steering committee and everybody that was part of has been part of this planning process and coming up with I think a great framework for us to work on and build on our annual goals here at the college.
Great, thank you. Next is board monitoring the dental hygiene program. Ms. Tanya Morley.
Chair Cohen.
Good morning.
President Cruz. My name is Dr. Eric Goss. I'm the Dean of the Healthcare Pathway.
And I am Tanya Morley, the Department Chair for Dental Programs and Dental Hygiene Program Chair.
You should have received a pre-recorded video from Ms. Morley, and so we are here to answer any follow-up or questions you may have from that presentation.
That was distributed this morning? Is that what you just said? No. Okay.
We have it.
Okay. I just want to make sure there wasn't a new one.
No.
It was amazing.
Excellent. Director Baker.
Okay, so a bunch of us went on a tour. Very cool. Thank you so much for taking all that time, walking us through everything. I mean, it's like seriously cool. And understanding how the expansion is going to happen, because we have like this huge backlog of people, waiting lists of people, and it's a good career that, you know, people want to get into and all of that. So those of you who didn't go on the tour, highly recommend you get over there sometime. It was really, really interesting. So thank you for spending all that time with us.
Not a problem.
Even if you don't like the dentist.
Right. Yes. And I did brag that I literally had my teeth cleaned yesterday by an MATC graduate.
That's required for board membership now, so.
I'm okay with it.
Any questions from our board members online? No? Anyone else in the room?
I just wanted to commend both of you and obviously all the faculty and staff that are making this possible, because not only is it a great impact to our students, right, and getting into the workforce, but it's also the clinic itself does such a great service. And I understand that we serve about 1,500 community members every year through the clinic. So the clinic itself is something that is great, and it's a great service to our community. So I want to commend both of you and everybody that's involved with the dental hygiene program in what they're doing. And I think that the ability for us to take the money that was given to us by the state and the grant and expand the facilities and expand the number of students that we can serve is really extraordinary and really a testament to all the work that all of you have been doing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you're right. Anytime anyone wants to come, I will take you on a tour. Come back when it's done, so you can see the expansion too.
Totally. And I'm sure that's gonna be a lot of work, so thank you in advance for that.
We're
A lot of
excited.
levels.
I'm very excited.
When do you expect the expansion to be completed?
Well, we are taking our larger class starting fall of 26, so fiscal year 27. So the expansion should be completed by then. If not, we're planning on probably summer of 26.
Thank you.
One other thing I'd like to point out, besides preparing for this and being ready to share, next week we have our accreditation site visit from CODA. So Miss Morley has been extra busy, and at the end of next week,
Friday, yes.
we will be greeting our accreditors to continue our excellent service.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Brings us to item 8. Any new business to suggest for future? Directors online, anything to add to new business? All right, future announcements we've already done. I'm not going to do them again. And we have a closed session. If we can get a motion and a second to go into closed session, that'll be followed by a short break and then we'll be back.
I have such a motion.
Director Case.
I move that the district board convene into closed session pursuant to section 19.851C and G of the Wisconsin statutes to discuss item 10A, personnel matters and legal advice. The board may reconvene into open session to take action on matters discussed in closed session under item 10A if necessary.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Director Case, a second from Director Mendieta Ramos. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I think you need a roll call.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it's not set up that way. So we're gonna have to do a roll call vote.
Director Mendieta.
Aye.
Director Mormon-Kunde.
Aye.
Director Najib.
Aye.
Director Owen Moore.
Excused.
Director Pence.
Aye.
Director Baker. Aye. Director Burris.
I can't stay, so do I abstain or nay?
You should say. The
Nay.
question on the floor is whether to go into closed session. That's the only question pending.
Yeah, you can vote for that.
You can vote on that.
Aye.
Director Kay.
Aye.
Director Foley.
Aye. All right, we are heading into closed session. We are almost 15 minutes ahead of schedule. Let's come back in 10 at 5 to 6.
That's a good thing.
Thank you.
It is. It's a good thing. Like very.
When you're here, 10 minutes?
10 minutes, 5 2.